Welcome back to the Predictable Revenue Podcast. I'm your host, Collin Stewart. Today, I'm joined by Keith Peiris. He's the co-founder and CEO over at Lightfield. Before we jump in, this episode is brought to you by our founder coaching program. Founders, let's be real. Scaling a company is tough. You're juggling product, revenue, hiring, and a million other things. But what if you had a proven framework and expert guidance to help you navigate the chaos? That's where our founder coaching program comes in. Whether you're trying to find your first customers or fine-tune your go-to-market strategy, we're here to help you build a business that scales, well, predictably. With that bad pun out of the way, let's welcome Keith to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to get a chance to hear your story, Keith.
Excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast, where sales leaders teach you what's working for them so you can build it yourself. I've probably had a few CRM folks on the podcast because that's where I got my start. Now, it sounds like yours is going a lot better. You have more than one customer, so congrats on that. What made you insane enough to think, hey, I'm going to start a CRM company? Salesforce has already won. Why go beat your head against the wall?
It's funny. I tell most people I'm the last person to start a CRM company, just to say that, I grew up building consumer mobile apps. Like I was in Instagram and Facebook, and my first company, Tome, was more of like a consumer AI presentation product. And then, I would say we didn't quite have product market fit there. And I went on this journey sort of chasing usage, warmth, opportunity from this AI presentation product and ended up building an AI CRM for startups. That's going really well. So I'm happy to go through, the journey if you're interested.
Yeah, talk to me about that because it sounds like quite the interesting path.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, we had this AI presentations product, Tome. It was doing really well from a growth perspective. We had like 25, 30 million users on the thing, but most of them weren't in the product every day. Like most of them were in it once a month, a quarter, once every 6 months. So we were digging into this thing, being like, well, what can we do here? Like, who should we build for? What should we chase? What company do we build when we grow up? And the first thing we noticed was, other than students using the product to, cheat on their homework, the other folks that were in the product all the time were AEs. So we started to call them. We started to ask for intros to those companies, and they were like, look, I'm an AE at a startup. I don't have a marketing team. I have a lot of decks to make. So I started to pull at this thread. Let's try to generate some new business decks. Let's try to generate some proposals. And when we got there, they were like, well, the decks don't matter as much. We like you, but we actually don't need automated decks. It's not that big of a deal. So we started this pilot journey with doing account research, building proposals, reading RFPs, doing follow-up emails, ranking lead lists, all kinds of everything. This really funny thing happened, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this given your podcast material. We actually did well on a lot of these pilots. Like we had great account research, we sent pretty good emails, and honestly, no one was willing to pay for any of it because they were like, this is great, but I guess you guys are connecting a large language model, which isn't yours, to Salesforce data, which isn't yours, and connecting to Gong data, which isn't yours. And there are like 10 other sales companies around here that are all claiming to do the same things. Like, we don't know if we want another vendor. I'm sure, Gong or similar will bundle this soon enough. Maybe we'll give you like $20, a seat a month or something. This is rough. So, we were in the thick of it with all of these pilots, doing good work. None of them were converting. If you're in a larger company, you've got some structured data in Salesforce. You've got a lot of conversational data in email and Gong, the call recorder, or the customer ticketing platform. You have data in like the product analytics tool. Is anyone using our product? And then you sort of have to like sew all of that stuff together and create a library of all of the content in those books and then feed it to the model. And that was really, really painful across, these 20 different tools. 20 is maybe stretching, like say 12 different tools, right?
12 to 20 is still too many tools.
Yeah, it's a lot of tools. And, when we were speaking to these sales leaders and some of the RevOps folks there, they're like, yeah, that does suck. But we don't really want to change that because, if we
Mm.
want to change out half of our tools and now we have to go teach this entire team how to do their work differently. We don't have time for that. We have to hit our revenue goals, So we were like, this is kind of a mess. You don't get great results because of where all of the data is, how slow it is, that it's not stored in the right way. My co-founder and I, Henry, we sat back and we were like, what would actually make sense from a technology perspective is you rebuild the whole CRM. Yeah, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. We're like, we should just build the whole CRM as a data lake that just
Hmm.
slurps in everything. And then you lay sort of structure on top, like the classical CRM schema. And then you build
Hmm.
the system that can like go and fetch the right data with LLMs and sort of do work for you, do analysis and more. Like that actually seems like the 10x better solution than, this sort of cobweb between like Salesforce and 12 to 20 other tools. And then we were like, oh, there's no way that we're going to be able to sell this to these grown-up companies because of the change management required. It's like redoing half your company. Then we were like, but wait a minute, there's so many startups being created right now. And it's this weird time, right? We're in this AI vortex where there's a ton of startups being created. A lot of them are going pre-seed to seed, seed to A to B, faster than ever before. Right. So we're like there's this kind of interesting opportunity here where if you can be a company's first CRM and do it the
Hmm.
right way, and then they don't need 12 to 20 other tools. It's just a really easy integrated experience. Then we could build and hold on for dear life as some of these companies grow, from a two-person company to a 10-person company to a 100-person company. But I think it's sort of the only approach that made sense to us. And I remember watching some podcasts with the CEO of NVIDIA saying disruption typically happens from the bottom because Salesforce and HubSpot are guarding their giant contracts, right?
Hmm.
They're making sure that, Costco is never going to leave, but that they're not really building for that like seed stage company that's got a B2B motion. So we're like, huh, interesting. And we started to dig in a little deeper, and I can go faster if it's getting boring. But then we realized a lot of the startups, I would say almost every startup these days building with AI is a B2B one. It's just the nature
Hmm.
of LLMs, right? They tend to start with pilots. So you're actually getting a CRM very, very early. It's like your co-founder, you're having calls with customers. So you end up being like a day zero CRM customer. And
Hmm.
those folks are using, HubSpot or some others, and it's like obviously not built for them. It's built
Hmm.
for giant teams, forecasting, right? It's not built for sort of quick understanding of a customer and building workflows on top. It's not built to be automatic.
No, it's
So
built as a hook into to sell you their marketing automation tool set for 30 grand a year in 6 to 24 months.
exactly, right? Some of these startups are going to turn into, an Anthropic or like a Harvey or something like that. And we happen to be pretty good at serving those folks because we're startup folks and we're in the middle of San Francisco. So
Mhm.
we gutted our team from Tome. We went from 70 to 7. Um,
Whoa.
and which was pretty rough. And we had this huge office space, which I'm in now, that we couldn't get rid of because it turns out that landlords in San Francisco don't care that much about your startup not working. And we were like, all right, let's start again with 7 people. It's sort of the math of you need to be able to feed your whole team with 2 large pizzas
Mhm.
when you're building 0 to 1. And then we're also like, gosh, we need people to use the CRM, even though we've like barely built it. So we decided to give away the office space to startups in exchange for using our CRM.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
the most SF benefit I've ever heard.
Yeah. So we had 12 folks move in, and then we just started building with them.
You're like forward deploy engineer? Nah, in-house customers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of genius. I mean, if you got the space, use it as a resource to acquire your first 12 customers. Damn, that's got to be the most unique first 12 customers I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. And, I would say seven of them are still using the product every day. So it was absolutely worth it.
Do you evict the five that aren't using it anymore? They're moving out.
We sort of nudged them. We're like, well, maybe we should give up this desk for someone that wants to use it.
Yeah, sorry, Jerry, your lease is up.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny. So you've got 30 million users. You notice that sales, as a dirty salespeople, are using it to do these presentations. You go through this journey. You realize that, hey, the right answer is just instead of one disparate or 30 disparate tools, let's just build one platform to rule them all and bring all the things in. Because at the end of the day, all Salesforce is right now is a GUI on top of an Oracle database. And the GUI used to be okay. It was never great. It was certainly better than trying to string SQL databases together if you were an IT admin, 15 years ago. Like that sucked. And like having it in the cloud was certainly better. But as a salesperson, 27 clicks to add a contact and account, on IE6, that sucked. And so, I've always seen Salesforce as just kind of a GUI on top of a database. It seems natural that if you're trying to build integrate 12 different tools, 12 different schemas, 12 different sources, that's a crazy amount of complexity. I think most companies are probably spending more on the team to integrate and keep Salesforce alive than they probably are on Salesforce. Smells like a pretty big opportunity to me. I'm curious though, you had all these folks. How many, was it just the 12? And you're like, hey, we're going to pivot. Like, walk me through the decision to, the timeline of like going from 70 down to seven and like how much validation had you done? What did that process look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I'd gone from 70 to 7 in one swoop. That'd be my advice to my future self or anyone going through a pivot.
Hmm.
Much better to cut once and build back up again versus having multiple steps because then everyone thinks the company's dying. They're worried if they're next. You
Mhm.
lose your friends and it's definitely worse. But we went from 70 to 30 first. And that's when we were starting these sort of enterprise sales pilots. And I would say every VC around us was like, oh, if your thing doesn't work, just build an enterprise thing. And I think one of the biggest challenges with building go-to-market tech is how crowded it is inside of an enterprise. So
Mhm.
I think, in all honesty, 30 people was way too many people for that stage. And I think the other thing that we were reckoning with is that, you've interviewed prolific enterprise sales CEOs, and that's not me. That's not my co-founder. So I think like we were both learning the product market fit side of this space as well as learning how to sell. And I would say that those things combined, certainly didn't make us very successful. So I think, one of the nice things about our go-to-market now is that it's something that we're both pretty good at. We're both pretty good at the startup product-led growth, create a
Mhm.
lot of demand and word of mouth sort of motion. So I think the like founder go-to-market fit is a pretty important, I think part of the journey. For the product itself, it's funny. You go through different layers of validation. The first
Mhm.
thing, we did when we got to seven was I just called every founder I knew. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking of building a product like this. It's like an automatic CRM. It also is your customer memory that you can just use to automate work and do work. What do you think of it? And
Mhm.
nice thing about this idea versus some of the enterprise sales ideas was that you could explain it in a couple of sentences. And most of the founders I spoke to were like, "That sounds great. I'd love that." And
Mhm.
it also passed the sort of literal mom test. I told my mom what I was doing, and she was like, "Oh, that makes sense. Like automatic Salesforce that's all in one. Cool." Keep going. So I thought there was sort of like nice conceptual validation there. And then sort of the next layer was my co-founder Henry. He grew up as a product designer, and he just made the mock-ups of it. And then we were just sharing mock-ups of it with people, and they were like, "Oh, this actually looks like something I would want to use." And then we
Mhm.
started to ask, "Well, how much would you pay for it?" And if they were like $10, we didn't count it, but if
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh, I would pay $100 a month for this easy," then we were started like, "Oh, there's actually quite a few people where this is interesting to." And maybe the thing that felt different about this idea versus some of our previous ones was that it felt easy to sell.
Mm,
And it was like this good reminder that I had of I think no one's ever going to sell the product better than the founders, right? Because it's just like the thing that you dream about all the time. And
mm,
it's like if this thing is hard for me to sell, like how could we possibly hire a team that's going to sell this effectively? So, with this idea, we're like, oh, this is easy. There are times when I'm like, I don't have much sleep, kind of groggy, but the idea and the product sells itself. This could work. This could work. And then the maybe the big jump going from idea and concept was getting these 12 folks to use the product. And it was like a 4-month-old CRM. It was pretty rough, to
mm.
say the least. You've been through it. And we were like, wow, this is crazy. Of these 12, like five are for some reason using it every day. And I think that's like an interesting realization because obviously now the product is way better and it gets better every week. But if the idea is so good that it works even when it's like put together with like duct tape and toothpicks, then
Hmm.
that probably has some gravity, or some staying power. And then I would say maybe the last piece was realizing not only do we have five B2B founders using the product every day, they have a lot of opinions about it.
Mm.
I think is maybe the strongest sign of PMF because with our presentations product, Tone, we had all these users, and if we asked them like, "Hey, what do you want this to do next?" They had no idea. And I think like apathy kills companies more than any critical feedback. Whereas
Hmm.
here, people were coming to our desks grabbing us by the collar proverbially, and be like,
Hmm.
hey, I really need reporting, or hey, I really need this email sync to work this way. And we're like, oh, this is something that, makes conceptual sense. People are using every day. They have
Hmm.
extremely strong opinions about what they want it to do next and how they want it to work, and they're willing to pay for it. And I think it was those things sort of combined. We're like, oh, all right, this seems pretty good.
I love that. So your first customers came from literally your tenants. We will trade you rent, a lease, a desk in exchange for feedback, which is amazing. What happened next? Where did the next tranche of customers come from?
Good question. We put up a really simple website,
Hmm.
knowing that we would redo it 6 more times before the launch, made some social posts and got a few more that way.
Hmm.
And say we got from, 12 to call it 30 that way. Then for the ones that really love the product, then we asked them, "Hey, could you introduce us to 3 more people?" And that's also an interesting test of product market fit, right? And it's funny, if you're building for startups or small businesses, you have to be a cat conscious CEO, whether you like it or not. And,
Hmm.
and it turns out that the only way to make a startup or SMB company work is for people to love your product so much that they're willing to tell other people about it. And this is why like so much of HubSpot's growth and Mercury's growth is just word of mouth. It's like hard to track. We were like, oh, well, these people introduce us to 3 other founders to get a free CRM. At first, some people were like, no, you better fix this before I tell anyone about it, which is great feedback. But eventually we got to a state where the people using the product were like, yeah, this is great. Do you want me to post this in the Y Combinator groups? Do you want me to introduce you to my like cohort at Techstars or whatever it is? And then we started to get a little bit of this blooming happening from this nucleus. And then, we got some of those founders to introduce us to 3 more. That's why we
Yeah.
sort of started this organic flywheel.
And how were you doing that? Was this a sending them an email? Was it built in the product? Was it you? I mean, I'm sure going by their desks is a very easy way to do it. But for those folks that were outside the office, that you couldn't withhold beer or sandwiches, lock them out of the kitchen until they gave you referrals. How did you squeeze referrals out of them initially?
At first, I would just, send them a Slack message or an email being like, hey, could I see you're using the product a lot? Can we grab
Mhm.
time and you can give me feedback about everything you want it to do? And because they cared about it, they got time with me. And at the end, if they weren't, they were like, I still like this, then I would ask them for referrals.
Mhm.
Whereas if they like sort of hit me with, you have to fix these 3 things before it's usable, I'd go and fix those things and come back to them. So
Mhm.
I just treated it as this like, hey, almost the servant mentality. Like, here, I'm here to build you an awesome CRM, and then when you're happy, I'm
Hmm.
going to ask you for referrals.
Totally. Was there anything in exchange for the referrals? Hey, give me three referrals and let you use it for free.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now we're instrumenting that. Now that we're in launch and we've got, 1,000 companies using the thing, we're sort of asking folks, hey, if you'd refer someone, we'll give you a month off or something, or 2 months off.
Mhm.
And now we're trying to like mechanize the system of, hey, if you love the product, let's like make it worth your time to tell more people about it.
Totally. But initially it was just, hey, are you happy with it? Great. Could you introduce me to three other founders?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the nice thing about serving founders is that there's sort of there's an appreciation of what you're going through, where it's
Hmm.
like, hey, this can't be like free. Like you know what my Anthropic bill looks like.
Oh, that must
Um,
be gross.
and they're like, yeah, that's fine. Like we'll pay for it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, there's that empathy with, I also have a giant LLM bill with you.
Exactly. And then we eventually did just little things that I think go a long way. We started to host some dinners. We started to invite great founder sales folks to the office and just invite everyone we knew. And then we had some good swag. And it turns out that
Mhm.
like those things help a little bit. It doesn't help if you don't have a good product, but if you have a good product, people like the way that they're being served. I think these things, help a little bit.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that's how we ended up getting introduced is somebody had brought up my book in one of your, I think Pete Kazanji's talk. And
Yep.
so I'm coming down for January, I believe.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. This is the other one of the nice things about, I would call it like pay it forward acquisition. We know who we need to serve, right? There's like 20,000, maybe 20,000 CEOs right now in seed or Series A in the US, give or take. But I can't just like outbound to all of them being like, hey, try my CRM. But I think it works well to be like, look, hey, we're Colin's coming to talk about founder sales, or Pete's here to talk about how to crack enterprise sales. Come hang. We've got good food. And I don't even have to mention the CRM. At some point, they're like, what are you building? And then I'll like show them a demo, and it's sort of this like nice sort of relationship oriented approach to getting people to use the product.
I absolutely love that approach. I I have so many people I talk to about outbound and they say, "Oh, cold outbound is dead." And like cold outbound from 1999 that Salesforce used, that doesn't work as well anymore. Relationship first, using outbound to start a relationship, ask a question, that works extremely well still. You got to do it right, but you got to be willing to make the investment of hosting the dinner, hosting a roundtable, having somebody on your podcast, doing something that's going to establish a relationship, and then recognizing that not everyone that you do is going to turn into a customer, that you're doing it just for the fact of, I'm willing to make this investment to start a relationship. And I understand that 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 or, 5 in 10 are going to turn into a customer. But I'm okay that if all you ever do is come to this event, I'm totally happy. That's a win for me. And I think a lot of people aren't comfortable making that investment. It used to be the Netflix box or the big conference or the swag. And now I think people want something a little bit more authentic, which is they want some time. And if you want to create a relationship, you got to invest some time and do something for me.
True. And I think you also have to assume that these sorts of businesses take forever to build. I think we're going to be working on this thing for decades. So, if we don't get you next year, we'll just keep building a great product and a company. And hopefully, when you've run out of your other CRM 4 years later, we're top of mind for you.
100%. Because eventually you're going to get tired of having five people, I should say, just juggling all the balls to keep your CRM working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As someone who canceled both my Salesforce and HubSpot this year, I mean, I built a CRM myself, but like 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago. Yeah, it's been a while, but I've got some very strong opinions on CRM and I'm not a fan of Salesforce is obviously, they've got a great platform if you need, the GUI and 8 million apps that you can plug into it. Fantastic. If I was recommending a CRM to my dad, probably be that because, they're going to need all that old school functionality. I don't know, I want my software to work for me, to do work for me. I don't want to have to work in my CRM anymore. And it was just too much work to keep Salesforce up to date, too much work to keep HubSpot up to date. I built a couple of little pieces with N8N and some workflows, and like that's all automated. And now I've got my N8N bots that are doing stuff for me. I'm going to take a look at Lightfield after this because it sounds like it could have saved me some hassle. But I didn't want to be working in software anymore. I wanted my software to work for me, and I think that's the big kind of unlock with LLMs. And so it kind of connects the timing of the pivot into Lightfield seems to make a ton of sense. It's just an endpoint that's pretty open, and you can push anything to it.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's really fun. I could geek out on CRM all day long, and I do want to hit my talking points at the same time. So if I was to kind of think back through the steps here, it was you had space. And so that's where your first 12 customers came from. We'll trade you for a lease. The next kind of wave of customers was making those first 10, 12 really happy until they hated it a lot less, and they were willing to give you referrals to kind of the next to 3 customers. And that was the moment when you went, okay, now we've got something that's blooming. So that was kind of, we'll call it phase 2. And then phase 3 was more, call it relationship first marketing, where you were inviting folks in, you were running events, or basically all of the kind of these marketing activities where you're hosting and sharing and things like that.
Yeah.
Do I have that directionally correct?
That's totally right. And we told ourselves we should get to 100 customers this way before, before we think about sort of scaled work. So we sort of told the team, we want to get to 100 customers before we launch, because, when we launch, we want to know, hey, this thing is working, and these 100 people like this thing. There's something here. And that way, when we're, open for business and people visit our website and sign up, we know what to troubleshoot. It could be, it's an issue with onboarding. It's an issue with trial. It's an issue with it's sort of a top of funnel oriented issue versus the product issue. So after we got to that 100 with relationships, that's when we decided to plan for a launch.
I love that. And I want to talk about the launch in a minute, but I think you said something earlier that reminded me that I think, if you were to look at the percentage of customers that have turned into a referral, that have given you a referral, I think that is the number one strongest measure of product market fit out there. And I think the biggest murderer of customers or of startups is us founders trying to invest in growing the product, growing the company before we have a real strong referral coefficient. Because if you are, I ran a cold email agency for 10 years. And like the biggest thing I noticed was strength of product market fit was a multiplier of client results. So when Uber came in and we launched Uber Eats for them, like they got 33% meeting booking rates, like in-person meeting booking rates. I've never seen anything like that. When their third fast follower, came, the name that nobody would ever recognize, they got like a 2% reply rate. And so you looked at there's a 3-year time period, but the strength of product market fit was super weak by the time that third competitor came in. That problem was solved. And I think so many customers or so many people think that you can just build a product, be happy with it, and then start pouring money in without realizing that you need to quantify that product market fit by looking at how many folks that we're getting organically coming to the platform because somebody else said, this is so awesome, you got to check it out. Or yes, Keith, I'll give you 3 referrals.
This is so true. This is so true. I would say in our last company, I wasted so much time and resources trying to pour money into marketing with something that people thought was okay. And it turns out you can't hack your way into an efficient company that way. There has to be some kernel of these people love this, and now we're trying to find more people like this.
Yeah, we're solving a problem you couldn't solve before, and the product is great at solving the problem, right? Like if you are missing that, it doesn't matter how much marketing dollars that you have. You can't outrun that. It's like I can't outrun if I want to lose weight, I can't outcycle my fork. That was also a hard lesson to learn.
I'm going through this now. I used to be able to outrun my fork when I was 25, but not anymore.
I had kids, and I was like, I'll lose the weight by doing half irons. And I started doing those, and I measured, a year later, I'd done 3 and I'd put on weight. And I was like, maybe losing weight is the wrong metric, But anyway, I digress. We talked about kind of where that first initial 100 came from. Talk to me about the launch and, making that investment. What did the launch look like? What did the scaled go-to-market programs start to feel like? What were you investing in?
So we We figured, look, a launch is sort of an active brute force, which is to say that you're this tiny company. For us, we were 18 people at the time. We're about 20 now, and we just need to hit this drum as hard as we can so that someone will notice, right? And we're like, what tools do we have? We're like, we have 100 customers. They seem pretty happy. If we ask them to post on LinkedIn or post on X, they would. Great, that's a good foundation. We're like, we've got our employees. We should all talk about why we're at the company, why we're excited to serve this customer. Great. And then we had to like knock on some doors of investors being like, look, I need you to amplify this. We're like at the sort of foundation here, we've got maybe a community of 200 people in the world that care about this company. And we were like, we should get all of these people to sort of post at the same time, so we can just get someone to notice. That was sort of the first thing. And then the second thing was we were like, we should have a website that explains the product, and then we should have I would call it a like a minimally extractive funnel, because at this stage of company we just want people to try the product and fall in love with it. We're like not trying to like get every like dollar out of people. So we were like, all right, let's just have a simple trial. Let's like charge the least we possibly can, sort of get more advocates, make it really straightforward, and honestly just like plan to give referral codes to plenty of folks in our ICP. Um, so we were like, we want to create a brand, a campaign around like, look, we understand you and we want to build a tool for you so that you can make a company that works. And we found a pretty good director and we spent a bunch of time with him and we like worked on our campaign. Now, our goal wasn't to try to get views. Like, we're not trying to go viral. We were just trying to get every single B2B founder to notice, like, hey, there's a company that like wants to help me with this part of building my business that I didn't even know that I wanted to do. Which is
Mhm.
to say that like a lot of these founders, they have a tech background or a product background. They're like learning sales for the first time, and we just wanted to show we're in your corner. So we put together this video, and I think it actually it worked to say like, hey, this is a CRM for someone that is like discovering their business. And
Mhm.
then we posted it. We got the 200 people in our community to sort of reshare it all at the same time. And I think we made the tiniest dent, in the startup circles to sort of get things going.
Awesome. And so it was you got everybody to rally around this video. Was that like a YouTube video? Did you throw it on LinkedIn? Is it TikTok or Insta or whatever it was?
So we put it on LinkedIn and we put it on X. And this other funny thing happened because everyone tells you that your go-to-market tech company has to grow on LinkedIn. But we found because
Mhm.
we're serving founders, it actually just got way more traction on X. There's so many founders on X being like, this is awesome. I'm excited about this. Or like, I felt something. Seeing this guy getting the Zoom door slammed on his face, trying to trying to like get his product, into market. So now X has started to become a channel that we pay close attention to.
Interesting. Love that. So it was a combination of, the ever present, I hate my website. We will scratch that itch a little bit because you have to. I think every major phase of a startup, we all grow to hate our website. And I think you ask any founder, you're like, oh, do you love your website? Most of them are going to say no, unless they just had it rebuilt. That is I think it's a hard reality of 13 years. I think there's been like 6 months total time where I've been like, I love my website. 6 months total. So you redid the website, you created a great video, then you got everybody within that kind of 200 launch group to share it and minimally extracted pricing. Then you're building out in the open. What did that? I heard you mention 1,000 customers. Did that go 200 to 1,000? Is that the
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah, yeah. We sort of got to that range, and now it's funny. We've got this great seed of people, and we just have to make them really happy. Um, and we don't have customer success or product management, which means
Mhm.
that the whole company is customer success and product management, which I kind of love. So whenever someone creates an account on Lightfield, we create a Slack channel. Our whole company is added, so we all get pings when someone is like, "This sucks," or I really need this. And it's our job to just swarm these folks until we've solved their problem and they're happy. And we're just confident that when we get there, that they'll all have three friends.
I love that. You must know Varun and Kareem over at Clay pretty well, because I think that was one of the things that worked extremely well for them in the early days.
Oh, that's awesome. I've run into them occasionally, but I really obviously really respect what they're doing.
Hell yeah. I don't know if I was super early into the platform, but it was probably 3 years ago. I think they had just made the pivot a year before. And I remember the platform being like, Clay's great. I love Clay. I love Kareem and Varun. They're great founders. The product was early and there were some rough edges. And you know where you could rely on to get the answer? Slack. And it was Varun in there all times of the day. And I knew he was on, Eastern Standard Time, but he was still hit me back at like midnight '07, with like the answer to the problem that I was posting in the general Slack. And like, you didn't have to do that, but it certainly made me less likely to bow out and be like, you know what, I give up on this thing. It's not good enough. It's not there yet. Like, it wasn't where it is today by a long shot, but having the founders kind of be there to support you. And eventually it wasn't Varun anymore. And I had to get in the habit of like harassing him for like my problems. He's like, yeah, we've hired like 30 customer success people. I'm like, yeah, okay, sorry. But habits are hard, but they did such an amazing job of like providing that support in the Slack. And I think that's one of the things that really helped build that community, that helped, I feel like I know Varun because of this. And like, we probably don't know each other that well, but I've had hundreds of conversations with them over Slack, and it builds that relationship. And so I think they did a phenomenal job of building relationships with their early customers and making them really happy. It wasn't just one or the other. It was both of those things. And so I love that you're doing the same, and I hope everybody else listening steals this idea, because it is a great one.
Sure. I mean, it sounds so simple, and there's so few companies actually do it. We pay for software from 10-person companies, 20-person companies, and they're already, delegating us to someone. And like, come on, like, we're here, we're paying you, we want you to succeed. Just like be invested in us being successful. And I think if you do that, you're already ahead of 80% of the startups.
Don't stick out a wellness desk in front of me and saying, hey, you've got to go through this ticketing system if you want any help, because that's not fun at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like we could talk about this forever. I'm curious what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, our thesis was, hey, we got to stick this landing to be sort of the best zero-day CRM. I'm starting a B2B company, and I need to get my stack up and running. Lightfield has to be the sort of standout choice for you. And now I think we're not there yet. We've got some stuff to build, but I would say that we're sort of building out the platform so we can make good on that promise for more people. The big thing coming out, like I said, is we're working on this API so that you can pipe literally anything into Lightfield and make sense of it. We've only supported Gmail, and we've learned, a lot of the world runs on Microsoft, so that's coming pretty soon. And I think some of the stuff on top, we're going to really lean into building out, making it possible to build out some sort of nice automations on top of the CRM. Because I think you can do so much better than a noodle diagram now, right? You could actually be like, hey, LLM that knows everything about my company because it's connected to the CRM. Can you take a shot at scoring these leads, right? Or, hey, you customers are saying, because of the call recorder, because of our connections to our Slack channels, can you take a shot at this roadmap and then break it into tickets and send it into linear? So I think we're like working towards just being this like source of customer memory that you can plug into anything inside of your company.
I love that. I think that is kind of the next generation of where these, we'll call them CRM in quotes, because it's really more like customer intelligence-ish platform, but I'm sure we'll find a new, better name than CRM coming in the next few years here, because it's not just about the relationship. It is about everything that goes into it. So I'm really excited to check out Lightfield. I'm excited to meet you guys in San Francisco next month. If people want to check out Lightfield, they want to try it out, what's the best way for them to do that?
Say, come to lightfield.app. And if you start a trial, you'll have a Slack thread with me, And you'll have my personal phone numbers. So I think we're delighted to meet you and build a CRM that can serve your needs.
I love it. Keith, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Colin.
And thanks to everybody for listening. We'll catch y'all next week.